Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And welcome back, everybody. When it comes to the design of your home, your living or workspace, you want it to be stress-free. But when you think about maybe redoing it, or maybe you're moving into a new place, my gosh, the level of stress is very high. You have expectations on yourself. Others in your family are also looking at you to make sure you get it done the right way. How do we do stress-free design? We're going to talk with an expert today, actually our professional of the year. MaryJo Major is with us from Rise Interiors. Welcome. How you doing today?
Hi, Steve. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you back here. I'm going to out you before we even begin that your cat, before we got on here, your cat was crawling all over the place because you had... Yes. I guess live or fresh flowers nearby.
Yes.
Because you have company coming over, I think you said, right?
Yes, I do. I have some family coming in town. Yes. Yeah, one of the little ways I like to welcome people is having something fresh in their room to welcome them, or, in a place where they're going to be spending a lot of time. So
I love that.
Yeah.
I really do. And I have cats, and I don't do live flowers. I don't even do plastic flowers because they're all over it anyway. But when I have people coming over, I usually light a candle, or I have a diffuser with essential oils going on, just something going on. And I never realized what I was doing until you said the flower thing. I was just doing it I want it to be fresh, something fresh.
Right. Well, I do think there is something to be said for wanting to welcome people in through some sort of sensory experience, whether that's visual or smell. I mean, I think the at least my favorite experiences when I come into a new room is seeing something that I know they did specifically for me, even if it's a hotel where they make a swan out of your towels or leave little chocolates, something where I know that I was thought about. So I think that, you're right. You're right where you're supposed to be, making it smell nice for whoever's coming.
Okay, full disclosure, the litter box is not nearby. Anyway, I'll move on. But people remember that stuff. They remember, the vibe that they got. Okay, So stress-free design.
Yes.
How do you define that? As a professional who does this work, what does that mean?
Oh, man, I feel like a little bit of a loaded question. I would say, whenever you think about your home, whether you're walking into it or it's just kind of in your mind's eye, what does your body do? Does it get really tense? Do you start to think about all the to-dos you have? Or do you think, I really like going home. I really like spending lots of time in all the different rooms and having people over. And so I would say it has to do with, how your body is responding, because I think it tells you a lot about your stress and how you feel about a space. Or, if you think about a space you don't like, whether that's, let's just say it's the doctor's office or going to the DMV or, whatever. And you think about it, you start to, maybe like your heart starts to beat a little faster, or, you have other sensations in your body. So I think sometimes the mental and emotional is connected to how your body is responding. So I would say that's how you really know if you're stressed out about your house. Do you start to, clench your fist? How do you respond? But the stress when I think about stress-free design, I think about whenever you have to do something in your house, whether it's big or little, how do you feel about that? Do you feel equipped? Do you feel prepared? Do you feel like you got this? Or do you feel like you don't really know where to start or are frustrated?
Lost is the first word that comes to mind.
Yes. Yeah. And I think a lot of the stress, I think, comes from, if you're thinking about your whole house, it's if you walk around your house and you feel like every single room, there's something to be done. There's something, whether it's big or little, there's stuff there, whether you want to always paint change out the color on the wall or change out something random like this faucet that you hate, whatever it is. And so I would say my biggest tip for kind of creating more of a stress-free design experience is to start on one space and just go one space at a time, to not try to tackle everything all at once.
That's a great thought, because when you have the mindset of, I'm going to start redesigning, you go room to room and you think, all right, well, I got to do that room. Oh my gosh, got to take care of that one there. The bathrooms definitely need, whether it's just, minor stuff, new carpet, whatever, throw rug. And then it just seems like overwhelming that you have all this stuff going on. And back to your point of the DMV, when you think about what you feel, when you say that, my first, and I was there probably within a year, my first thought was the wood cold bench seats. So uninviting as you're waiting for your number to come up, and then, you walk up to the window. But that's the first thought. There's nothing inviting about that place. Sometimes you get a nice person at the information window when you first walk in. And
hopefully.
Yes. Short of that, though, there's nothing inviting about the DMV. How interesting. How interesting.
No. Yeah, it is. It is. It's something to think about the places that, maybe the places that have the most stress in them should be the most beautiful. Maybe we need to rethink what the DMV could be. It could be a spa. It could be
seriously. Okay. All right. Let's flip this around, and then we're going to go back to stress-free design.
Yeah.
But what would you do with the DMV to make it more inviting, warmer, within reason? It has to, whatever it is. The bench seats, I get it, because there's lots of people sitting down, so it's got to be durable, blah, 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 blah. What would you do? Any quick thoughts how you might make the DMV more inviting?
Yes, I would say definitely add color. Most of the time they're white or gray or blue. I think color would do a lot. I think that creating some sort of, like art on the walls to help you kind of transport yourself, so you're not just staring at, rules and regulations. I mean, I think that those can definitely be available to look at, but having something that, would help you escape maybe. I would probably make sure that all the lighting isn't that fluorescent lighting that just makes you feel like you're going crazy after a while, that it's softer, maybe on a dimmer.
Yes.
You could have a nap chair, a nap area. You'd be there a while. I'm just joking. But I think that the flooring could be, instead of linoleum tiles, it could look like, I think it's called LVT, where it looks like wood, but it's easy to mop. Yeah, there's lots of ways you can add personality. Even the colors of the chairs, they don't have to be white or gray or navy or wood. You could have other kinds of things going on. They could all be different colors. I say that sounds like it sounds a little like a circus. I think it could be but
carefully selected. And as soon as you said that, the first thing you said was color. Completely saw it. And I started seeing maybe a medium blue tone or something like that, where it's just a little more warmer, just a better vibe instead of this, stoic kind of place. Same thing with doctors' offices. I mean, they're getting better. Right. I'll give that to them. But there's been some that I've been to where, you have paintings, and it's kind of interesting to look at. Yeah. So and we're not talking about a lot of expense here. Like, paint is not that expensive.
No, it's not. And I mean, I could keep going. I could talk about adding plants or something that looks live, and having maybe therapy animals roaming around. So you can
I love that.
You're waiting. I just think there's a lot more that could be, done to places that are stressful.
That is so funny. Therapy animals. I do marketing, and I work with a chain of funeral homes, and they have a comfort canine. Walks around, the best thing.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of wisdom behind having something just that doesn't talk back, that you can just kind of pet. Yeah. Especially if you're, at high emotions. So anyway, those are just some handful of ideas.
I'll get you that gig. I see it. I see the vision.
Yeah. So this will be our DMV. We'll make our own, Steve. We'll have it. Be like,
Wouldn't it
this
be
is
funny
alternative.
that you look forward to going to? Man, they had the best coffee when I went there.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait for my license to expire so I can,
That's right.
go back
That's
and
right.
renew or
That's right.
whatever
They're
it
gonna
is.
have a barista. They'll have a whole barista. They'll have like a whole
Yes.
and a snack bar. Um, yeah,
Hmm.
so yes, yeah, going back to homes, my biggest advice when you're kind of thinking about everything is because I think, when you were describing earlier going from room to room and going, gosh, every single place needs something. I recommend starting small because the smallest space is usually the space that takes the least amount of items or least amount of work to get it where you want. I mean, in theory, right? So I would say that could look like a powder room or your entryway, or I mean, even a pantry or a closet, something that is smaller in size that you feel like you can really tackle it head on, get everything you want. And when I say everything, I mean everything. Like, don't leave anything undone. Have it exactly the way you want it. Have the new light, have the paint or the wallpaper, have the hooks on the wall, the
Hmm.
matching towels if it's in the bath, like just take your time and do it the way you want. Because when you are done, the feeling you will have in that one corner of your house will be so life-giving and will just completely change how you interact with that space so much that you will feel this sense of motivation and just kind of empowerment to say, oh, I can live like this. I can have a house that really does look the way I want, and just kind of keep going from there. And, a lot of times, once you get the small space, the next space I recommend is what I like to think of as like the problem child, or like the thing that you is really bugging you in the back of your brain.
Hmm.
So I think, didn't you say, was it your living room? I don't remember what you mentioned earlier was like the space where it was like the thing you think about the most when you think about what needs the most help.
My living room. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not proud of it. I was kind of in a rush when I set it up, and it's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay. Um,
Yeah.
but when you said the foyer area, I've got nothing going on. And we've mentioned it before. I believe you mentioned a mirror, and I thought
Yes.
about that, and that would definitely kick it up. Maybe a mirror one side, and then maybe down the hallway a little bit, and maybe a picture painting. And I have
There you
so
go.
many of them. Photos I took. I love photography in frames, sitting in in storage or in a drawer right now that I could just put that up there, and
Yeah.
it would perk it up. But back to what you said before about stress free.
Yeah.
You said pick an area, a
Mhm.
smaller one, and get it done. Would you say that you're suggesting that also because it would give us a sense of accomplishment
Oh,
that,
yes.
I did that. That came out well. All right, now we're going to go for a larger room and tackle that one. It is challenging, though, to put the horse blinders on, if you will, and not to look at all the other stuff.
It
It really
is.
is.
It takes some discipline. And I don't think it's necessarily wrong to continue to think about those spaces. So I think it's also going to be kind of natural because you're going to be so focused on this one area. And so while you may be doing something, let's just say you are working on your bathroom first, you're going to be maybe finding something that you come across and you're like, oh my gosh, I would love this type of light also over here. I would say definitely keep on those, like, find a way to save those images and those ideas so that way you don't feel like you have to just completely ignore it. You have a place kind of that you're already gathering information. So a lot of my clients will do stuff via email or some sort of live document or Pinterest, some way that they kind of are able to store what they're thinking about in their minds. And so when we do get to those spaces, they already kind of have this storehouse of ideas and thoughts. But yeah, the reason why it's so important to stick to one room is if you don't, what ends up happening is the amount of money you have, whether now or, as you kind of move along, continues to spread thin. And so let's just say 6 months later, instead of having one room done, you have, things that you really like in all these different rooms, but you're still left with this same mindset of my house is stressing me out because it's still not done. And
Mm.
there's still a checklist for each space. And that just creates stress. And so, if you, again, we're kind of thinking about this a little differently. We want our houses to feel like us and to be able to host and all kinds of things. But I do feel like how you feel in your home and your mental health related to your home is such a big part of just living, coming home and spending, whether that's just crashing for the night and leaving and not really spending much time there or spending a lot of time there. I think that how you feel in your space, whether you realize it or not, affects how you interact with it and how even, I mean, I wouldn't say this lock, stock, and barrel, but I do think it could even have a reflection of how you feel about yourself in a way.
Sure.
Like I'm not worth a nice home, so I'm not going to spend time here, or no one really cares about my space because no one, I don't know. I think there's like these inner thoughts that start to come out that aren't true, but we kind of link them to our house.
I think you're so on target with that. And if you talk to therapists or people that deal in the mental health area, that is a fundamental thing for all of us, that some way, some shape or form, we feel we're not good enough, or we feel we don't deserve, or we feel we're not worthy. And it goes back to our childhood. And it could be the most minor thing. A teacher said something to you when you were 7 years old and you internalized it. But then now you take it to your home where it's like, well, I'm not going to get that couch because it's too expensive. And maybe you can pull it off in terms of affording it, but then you just don't. Yeah, I wanted to go, you open the door, so I'm going to walk through.
Okay. Sounds good.
Area,
let's do it.
But it's
let's do it.
It's in the wheelhouse of stress-free.
Right.
How do you, and this is a deep one. We're going deep.
All right. That's fine. Let's do it.
How do you identify what's going to make you happy when you look at a certain room? Let's go, just like you said, we're going to focus on a room at a time.
Yep.
How do you make that determination of what's going to do it for me? How is that going to be my happy space? You have so many thoughts and things going on in your mind. How do you hone it down to, those essentials, but then nailing it so it can give you the best feel psychologically?
Yes. I mean, it's a great question because I think that's what we all want. I mean, that's at the end of the day, what do you want to feel in your house? You want to feel happy. I think I would answer that a lot of times when I talk to a client, the first thing I ask them is, how do you want the space to feel? If you could open your eyes and feel something in this room, what would that be? And so some people talk about, they want to feel cozy and comfortable. Some people talk about really welcoming and light and airy. There's different emotions that will come up. It's kind of like when you buy a house in a way, when your realtor asks, how do you want to, use your house? What are the feelings you want in a way? What do you feel when you come in this house? And so that's kind of my starting place, is how do you want the room to feel? And then from there, we kind of build on it. So if someone says that they don't really want to host a lot, but they do want it to feel welcoming and cozy, then I usually start asking, okay, so what are your happy colors? What colors do you look at that really make you excited to see all the time? And then we start kind of creating the mood, if you will, of, all right, so if you like these blues and greens, let's do this on the wall. And then usually I'll go even the next layer deeper of, okay, so what are you passionate about, or what do you love? And that sounds like such a kind of generic question, like, what do you love? But I do think that sometimes those answers are what you can use to kind of infuse the rest of your space. So I'll share like my own home. I mean, growing up, like my mom loved botanicals, loved all kinds of things. And she also has all these antiques. So she has a lot of, I would say, we joke, she has a lot of brown furniture, but for her, it feels like home, because when she was growing up, that was something my grandmother had that she really prided herself on. And so this idea of having these beautiful pieces of furniture that she, acquired over time was this part of who she was that really made her proud and loved being home. And so how do you know, have all this beautiful antique furniture, but it really is all brown furniture. And how do you infuse that with botanicals, which when I say botanicals, Steve, I'm talking like light blues, bright pinks, oranges, yellows, greens, you know, all that stuff. And so a lot of the ways that I have worked with my mom and just in all my clients, but creating, okay, so what's on the walls, you know, having artwork that has those colors, having pillows that have those colors, having other upholstery items to kind of balance out all the warmth of the wood so that you're still able to enjoy kind of that heritage or those feelings of feeling like this isn't just my house, but this feels like me. And then also using it to incorporate all the other things you like.
This has given us a lot to think about because I went back to where I grew up, and if there was inspiration in that, you know, my mom's home, it's nothing like where I live now, but I went deeper in my mind as you explained it. And if anything, there's functionality where I am now because I grew up in a tiny bedroom that I did so much stuff in that bedroom. I had a radio station, you know, mixing equipment, developed photos, love photography, drew cartoons, bed, you know, all compact. If you go into my garage right now, it is not like it's, you know, I'm obsessed, but there's functionality. That's there. I got that, whatever. And I think I translated that there. But it's interesting when you think about that, you know, what inspired you. And even going deeper, I shared with you, I love tropical, I love the Caribbean vibe and all of that.
Right.
And I love my bedroom. What's there? Bright, huge window, lots of light, Caribbean type furniture that's dark that, you know, you might find. Lighter color floor, wood. My living room, not so much. And that's probably why I don't like it.
Well, I sounds like you know where you're going. Sounds like you know the end goal. Which I would also say is somewhat of the hope too, is that when you start a space, you kind of know you have an idea of where you want to go because it has all these different things you like. Yeah, your family of origin and how you're raised. I've learned through working with every client does in some way reflect how you interact with your own space.
In some way.
Yes, whether you want it to look totally different or whether you want to repeat certain elements because it just feels like home to you, or whether, you know, mom had this and we use it this way and I just have always thought I was going to have something similar, or, you know, all kinds of things. My house was really dark and that depressed me and I want the opposite in my own house.
Right.
You know, like there's
it's interesting, isn't it? Like, I know we're going deep in the psychological area here, but, you know, that's where you grew up is your baseline. I'm never going to do that. Or I like that. I am going to do that. Final question here.
Okay.
Should you keep a Pinterest board of things you see and like? And I'm a big proponent of journals. So if you go somewhere and you know, let's say in your mind is the project to redesign your place. Right. Go room by room. You go somewhere like, man, I got invited to a Halloween party. Oh my gosh, that kitchen is awesome. I like this. But write it down so you don't forget, and write down the feeling that you had, that you're getting.
Yes, I think that's huge to make note of the places that resonate the most with you, whether that's a friend's house or whether that's out in the world at a restaurant, whatever it is, whatever is striking a chord with you, that is what you're going for. Yeah. That is the kind of feeling you should have in your own home. And so, and everyone is made up of a lot of different things. So it is hard, I think, we'll talk about this later, but it is hard, I think, to find who you are out in the world because we're all different. And so, there's a lot of other stuff out there.
But feelings are everything. And back to the DMV. Yes. What do we all feel when we go there? Cold, uncomfortable, just not a great experience. It doesn't need to be that way if it was done right. And it comes back to the feeling. It's all about
the feelings. It does. If I was greeted with my favorite drink when I walked in the door and I could pet some animal and I had free, the best Wi-Fi possible and a foot massage, I'd be fine staying there however many hours.
Nice colors on the wall, just, friendly people. Great talking today. Learned a lot, really. It's a lot to think about here.
And all good things.
And what is stress? Another feeling. You don't want that. Your website, riseinteriors.co.
.co.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm, that's right.
And you're available. Consultation. Somebody has a question, they can reach out.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Super cool. Lots of great stuff on your website too. Examples and a gallery and such. Thanks for being here today. Totally enjoyed it.
Yes, I loved it too.
Same. All right. We'll catch up soon. We'll be right back.
Okay. Sounds good.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.